What's happening, guys? It's your girl Mina. Welcome back to my channel. You guys already know what it is. Friday set-ins. We couldn't do a Friday night without having some sort of stream in it. And I had to call out my bro Marcel because United's always in the news. There's more news about United today, more news about United this week, and of course, we got the game tomorrow morning or midday, if you want to call it. So it's only right we talk about that. First and foremost, Marcel, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. Today is an interesting day. Hearing a lot of stuff or rumors. I ain't caught up with everything, but I'm hearing a lot of rumors today circulating the club, of course, before a big game tomorrow. But no, I'm just more interested about this game. There's going to be a lot of fixtures coming up. Leading up to the New Year's and beyond that. The January period of game. So, a lot of fixtures for us to juggle, man. I've been listening to what Ten Hag's been saying about the team, so I'm interested to see what he does.
I saw a video on UV Clips, yeah. You predicted 6 out of the 7 games for United leading up to this Liverpool game. I
Is
think
it?
it was the Bournemouth one that you got wrong. If you haven't seen the clip, go on UV Clips. But you basically predicted all of the ones that we were going to win, all the ones we were going to draw, and all the ones that we were going to lose. And I remember because you said Liverpool will get a draw, and everybody looked at you like, "What the hell?" on the panel, and you were right. You were
It's
right. Mystic Marcel vibes.
right now, man. I'm really following just how the club's trying to progress, and when you take that into account, you can see that sometimes, unless, and for me, I was shocked as well. That draw, it really required Ten Hag to change completely what he's been doing this far. And he actually done it. I was shocked, but I did say a draw was on the cards. I remember talking to everyone saying, "Okay, yeah, we might lose, but a draw is on the cards." But he has to do, he has to go against basically his whole principles, and he did. So now I'm really, really excited, and I think when tomorrow, sorry, against West Ham, I'm predicting a good result.
Talking about Ten Hag, because people always got stuff to say. I know obviously you're a firm believer in the manager and what he can do at the club. I don't know if you saw the article this morning that came out from The Athletic, basically an in-depth dossier, that's what I want to call it, on Murtough. It's not actually about Ten Hag, it's actually about Murtough and his handling of the recruitment strategy at Manchester United over the last 10 years. It talks about how, the transfer window took place this summer, how it took place last summer, and basically alluded in one of the parts of the article. The article basically suggested that, man, if Ten Hag had known that United were cash strapped this summer, he wouldn't have gone out and brought the players that he did. Because Harry Kane was apparently top of his list. That's a player that you said that Ten Hag wanted. Even
Yeah,
with Frankie de Jong last year, he said that he wanted a player of Frankie de Jong-esque, and Murtough came back with Casemiro. Do you think when INEOS come in now, basically goodbye Murtough?
it should be. It should be. He's part of that group, the Ed Woodwardness, and he's part of that, And at the end of the day, he's failed the club in many ways, and Ten Hag, to be honest with you. So, I'm glad that if INEOS do come in, a new structure is put in place. People that can kind of are able to actually and are qualified, to tell Ten Hag no. That understand the league and say, look, this player is not going to be able to be suited for the league, or I can get you a better player that's been proven within the league that's doing better now, and they just have a broader knowledge. Ten Hag can be someone. Unfortunately, I think that so far we've kind of seen that his talent ID or the players that he's selected for the league, there could have been better players out there.
It's interesting because obviously Ten Hag came in with the impression that he wants as much involvement with the recruitment strategy. Do you
Yeah.
think that's still a good idea if INEOS come in? Because INEOS have uh, it's been alluded that INEOS have basically got their sporting project mapped out, and
Yeah.
they have an idea that the recruitment will be based on the kind of football that they want the club to play. So whether managers come or go, the football will stay the same because the players are staying the same. Do you think that Ten Hag should have less involvement when INEOS come, or should he still get a say in the kind of players that he gets?
Well, it depends what we're going to go with. Are we going to stick with what Ten Hag's way of football and follow through that philosophy and give him a structure around that, and the structure focus on getting him the talent for his philosophy, or is the structure going to create a philosophy and a style of play for us to follow by, which I think that might start the conflict. I think we wanted to do similar to what Sir Alex done, which is create a culture and have one guy, kind of a dictatorship esque kind of system, and that's what we started with. I think it just needs a structure because obviously our manager's not suited. Maybe I think in time he would have got better. That's the thing. I'm fighting with myself in a way, saying because I do believe in the manager that much that I would have said give him the keys. Give him the keys. You know, he needs to make the mistakes. All managers have done that. You know, Pep's
come
made
on, like,
mistakes. Klopp's made
yeah,
mistakes.
but
Arteta's made mistakes.
but making mistakes to this level in terms of how bad this season has been. Like, I think there's levels to making mistakes. You make mistakes of maybe you sign one wrong player, but right now I'm looking at all the signings from this summer, and I'm like, bro, which one is even like worth sticking up for? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like last year, Lisandro Martinez was that one out of the entire group. This year is like, I can't even ride out for Amrabat. I can't ride out for Onana. They've all given me reasons not to do so. So do you really think it's worth to allow him to make the mistakes? Bear in mind, I think Pep having the keys and, you know, Pep's able to sign a player and it don't work out, you know, get rid of, because they're winning. They're winning stuff. So when you're not winning stuff, I guess it makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and for Pep as well, I think they already brought his structure the year before. The year before they brought Pep in, they had brought all his backroom staff, I think, from Barcelona and all his key members that he usually works with to do those kind of things and get the talent in as well. So again, they had already, you know, premeditated what they were going to do before it happened, and that's why, you know, you can see the fruits of that years into now, you know, so many years down the road that was. But I do think maybe I'm being a bit too wishful to give Ten Hag the keys, you know, and that's why, you know, I do understand for the structure needs to come in because we can see that he has made a few mistakes, but it's been so early to say that these are catastrophic mistakes, Mina. And you know, and we haven't even got past halfway through the season, you know, and we're changing our style of football. You know, for me, that, you know, that's really important. A lot of these players, it's a 30-man squad. A lot of these players haven't played this style of football. You know, we're demanding so much running from them. You know, turnovers, and then even on the rest defense, the transitions going backwards. So you know, they're getting used to this kind of style of football, and I think Ten Hag needs to get more of his type of players in to reach this demand.
But don't you think he's got his kind of players? I mean, you know, bear in mind in this article on The Athletic that came out today, it basically, what made me laugh was that they said that they've looked at Anthony before Ten Hag. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he was on their recruitment list, but they valued him at around 25 million. I don't know how that 25 million went from 25 million to paying nearly 80 something million for them. But is apparently in the article, Ten Hag was adamant that he wanted him. But isn't that another example of the manager having his kind of players?
Yeah.
And it's not working out. Because bear in mind, can I just say, sorry, Anthony's got one goal involvement in the last 30-something games.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant stat.
He's adjusting. And remember, he had his issues outside of football as well, which for any kind of human or person, that's big pressures, you know, in his homeland that he has to deal with as well. But he has been under poor player form as well this season. You know, the reason why I still think we could have got better players. I believe Ahmad is a better player than him and will go on to prove that he's a better player for our squad, hopefully this season. But the reason why I'm giving him another chance is because he scored against Barcelona, you know, big game last season. He scored against City, you know, he's scored in big games last season, if I remember, at least 3 or 4 games. And for me, that's good enough reason to still push through with him and see, you know, at least at the end of the season, can he get a good run of form going? Can he produce well? Can he produce any sort of results? Because the whole front line's been shocking, you know. I wouldn't just blame him. Even Ten Hag said it in the presser today.
I think, I'm not joking, and I say it all the time on my stream, I think this is the worst Manchester United frontline I've seen in my life of watching Man United. Like, in my life, obviously, I wasn't watching United in the 70s or the 80s, but in my lifetime of watching and supporting United, this is the stinkiest frontline I could ever think of. Talent-wise, I think Garnacho's talented. I think Højlund is talented. But when you put them all together, it's just not working. It's just not working. Yeah. And I think combined between them, how many goals do they even have? I think all of the goals are in the Premier League. All the goals have come from Garnacho. Højlund ain't hit the ground running. I can't remember the last time I seen Anthony score or assist, or forget even score assist. I can't remember the last time I seen him do a pre-assist, the pass before the pass. I can't really remember that. And it might go down as, you know, a season where we really struggle to get goals. Because do you see us buying people in January? I don't see us buying.
I think we're waiting for the Rashford, you know, purple patch this season. And that front line or that group of strikers, man, includes, strikers from yesteryear in Rashford and Martial. So hopefully, if Ten Hag's able to recycle those kind of players or get the best out of Rashford, I think that's his biggest challenge. In the next 2 or 3 years, is to get the best out of Rashford. Can you get him into a 30 goals a season striker, 40 goal season striker? But this group of forwards, includes some players from yesteryear. So if Ten Hag's able to get rid of those, Martial, bring in a better striker, hopefully we can see something. Interesting though, Weghorst and Højlund are struggling to score goals. I think Ten Hag does have an issue with the profile of striker that he picks or selects, or what he's getting them to do, because similar to Højlund, Weghorst was running and pressing all day long up front, but just wasn't getting the goals. So we have to figure that out. Our wide players have to get more creative or look for the striker more. But because Højlund's so young, it takes a bit of time for a young forward to get used to his teammates, to make a claim in the team, to demand the ball all the time, to be the main focal point, of the team. He's still young, so he's still getting used to that role and accepting certain things of that role. And I think he'll do well.
But with the Højlund thing, for example, I forget he's 20. I always forget that he's only 20. I think comparing him to Weghorst in terms of the profile, I think he talent-wise probably exceeds Weghorst. I saw a stat that said in the last 7.5 hours of football, Anthony and Garnacho have passed to him a combined 10 times. He's never scoring when he's getting the ball probably like once every other game. Or every game he's getting one pass from his wingers combined. He's never gonna score. And you're right. All we really see him doing is wrestling, fighting. I just see him wrestling with defenders half the time. Yeah. And it's like, is that because the manager did say that? An article a couple months back did say that obviously Harry Kane was the manager's preferred player, but basically today's article on The Athletic said that signing Casemiro impacted United going for Kane the following summer because of FFP, because of salary, because of wages. They looked at it in terms of, apparently at the time, they, after the Frankie de Jong incident and the fact that you weren't coming to United, they looked at it and said, well, we've got Declan Rice who will cost us more in terms of a fee right now, but less wages, which can allow them to get away with it with FFP. They could offer him a longer contract, and as a result, they'd be able to spread that cost. Or they go for Casemiro, who's half the price of Rice, but would ask for 300 plus. And they went for the Casemiro, and in the end, that impacted them going for Harry Kane. Now, you said coming in, if INEOS come in, Murtough has to go. But don't you think that will kind of change any sort of leverage that Erik Ten Hag has? Because bear in mind, Erik Ten Hag came in with Murtough still there. So, the difference is I feel like when INEOS come in, it's a bunch of new people.
Yeah. And Ten Hag's position might even be under threat in the way that it still, for me, feels so stable now. I feel like there's no matter what happens this season, Ten Hag should still be in the job under this current structure that's in place now. The minute INEOS comes in, I think Ten Hag is under threat, with his position, and that might be something that we might have to worry about in terms of. That means the club's going in the direction of INEOS has a philosophy and a way that we want to play, and doesn't matter what manager we bring in, all the players we're all going to follow this suit. I do think that Ten Hag's power will go and his leverage does go the minute John Murtough goes. Do I think it benefits him? Maybe it does. Maybe it does. He's been able to work in synergy with a structure above him in Overmars and himself and co. At Ajax. So maybe having the British version of that will benefit him because it's a structure that understands this league better than what he does. I still think personally it would have been better for him to go through that process of learning and making the mistakes, knowing that the certain talents that he's brought in thus far wasn't good enough, the Weghorst or something like that. And he could have got somebody maybe in the championship coming up, that could have been better or more useful and done the same kind of work that Weghorst was doing, plus the goals because they understand the league or the culture, the physicality, all these kind of things. So, but it's for him to learn, Malacia is an unfortunate situation for us, I think. He got injured. He sustained an injury and everyone's trying to shoot down Ten Hag and his decision for bringing in a Malacia, saying it's a flop or those kind of things. You can't say that because he's been injured.
But it's not just Malacia that's injured. I think every signing that Ten Hag has brought in has had some Eriksen muscle injury or a non-contact injury. Malacia, obviously, Reguilon, Amrabat, Højlund. Onana came in, had an injury at the beginning when he first joined. Mason Mount, for me, Mason Mount is the most unusual one out of all of them because the article talks about it and says that United basically priced. United had a valuation of 40 million for Mason Mount. Yeah. And said that's what they wanted. Somehow they went and ended up paying 60 million. And on top of that, I misunderstood the article. If United are contending for a title, then they have to pay 1 million if he's played 70% or more of games.
Yeah, I read
Plus
something
5 years. I don't know how likely that's going to be, if I'm being honest. I don't know how likely that's going to be.
Well, it's a difficult one. So, to my knowledge, it was a hamstring injury, and now it's gone down to a calf injury, an extended period because of calf injury. And for me, hamstring injuries are horrible ones for footballers. You're seeing how Reece James is suffering right now with Chelsea with that. Michael Owen's hamstring injury, killed his career. So hamstring career injuries are massive, and I still think Mason Mount is going to be a fantastic player for the club. I know a lot of people are saying, he's been rubbish. It's been a rubbish signing, but that injury really, really hindered him. We saw some really good periods with him in the team. Obviously, the first game against Wolves just didn't make any sense to anybody how, it was working under balance. But if Kobe was in there, could have helped. And then when you see Mason Mount play a little bit deeper and with a lot more discipline in the 6 against Spurs, and he's a little bit deeper, there was a lot of good creation happening there. We just didn't get the goals for those spells of where we was dominant. But I don't know. Mason Mount is an interesting one for me, man, and we still have to wait for him to come back to see his level. I don't think we've seen enough of the sample size of him in the team to say.
But do you think but he didn't even really get opportunity. Even when he was fit, there was times where he was just sitting on the bench. He was sitting on the bench. I don't think the manager. I don't think he's like. I think the manager. I don't know. I'm at a point where I feel like he wasn't a manager signing. I don't think he was. I think United had to buy somebody. I think they had to buy an English homegrown talent, especially because they've lost quite a few over the last couple of years. I think that's the reason why Johnny Evans was signed as well. I genuinely don't see the manager trying to fit Mason Mount into his puzzle, because there's been games that we saw this season that he came off the bench for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
A couple minutes. That's a 60 million signing that you spent money on. You're bringing him on for a couple minutes. If he was truly integral, and Ten Hag even said this when he signed him, he said that he was an important part of the project he's trying to build. What if he was really an important part? Why is he not starting?
So to that bit, I would say I think that period of Brentford, Sheffield, where he comes and gets the here we go minutes, I think that was a recovery from a hamstring injury. A lot of people were saying to me, no, but it'd been a month. It'd been a month since that point. And I was like, well, it's a hamstring injury. It's difficult to recover from those. And then lo and behold, he gets another injury and another setback. So I think it's to do with just his match sharpness and his fitness. I don't think he even played much football last season Even last season, he was injured for a long period. Yeah, he didn't play much football, so it's just that conditioning. We know his qualities. He's very good at turnovers and winning the ball and pressing what's in front of him. He just needs to get that fitness there, and once he gets his fitness, I think we can start to judge him properly. Do I think Ten Hag was lying about potentially saying he's part of the plans and he's a big part of the plans? No, I think Bruno at some stage has to drop back in defence and has to hold his position. I think he's got a better.
Do you think the two can coexist?
Yeah, they can. Ten Hag has to change his tactics. I think he's learned that a little bit from the Liverpool game. Right now in the process, you can't go gun ho against the top 6. You can't. You just can't right now. So you have to humble your tactics, play the pivot and the 10. And I think Mason Mount, learning from Bruno, becomes the better 10 as he goes into his prime. And then Bruno sits back and Bruno plays the pivot next to Kobe. Once Ten Hag sees that, then we can move forward. Once he goes to basically, instead of a 3-1-6, he needs to change to a 3-2-5. Against Liverpool, I think he saw that, he has to be compact against the top 6 and basically has to play the 4-2-3-1, but kind of the 3-2-5, the way he plays it and build up and stuff.
I don't know, man, because it's interesting. The Mount thing for me is interesting because I don't think, I said this at the beginning of the season. I said I don't think him and Bruno can coexist in the same midfield. In this 2-10, 2-8, whatever the manager's trying to play, I don't think they can coexist. I think Bruno playing deeper, we've seen it a few times. We've seen it actually quite a few times. And I think playmaking-wise, he's better. But defensively, it's a bit scary. I feel like he lashes out a little bit in defensive transitions. And that scares, I mean, come on. We saw, was it the Champions League game when he gave away the free kick on the edge of the box that led to the goal? We've seen it in defensive transition. When he plays deeper, he's got the ability to lash out. I think, when we talk about the manager's signings thus far, and what they've been able to impact. I think over the 2-year period or 2 seasons so far, it's been a season and a half. I'm still holding on to Lisandro Martinez to be the only good signing that the manager has had, and that's me actually being very honest. That's me. I think Anthony is the worst out of all of them. I think the fact that United's got Weghorst and Sabitzer on a loan, and they're still not the worst, that says a lot. For me, I know Weghorst was, people disliked Weghorst a lot, but I think he did the job that he needed to do. You know, he created the space for the wingers. You know, Rashford was eating well from them chances. He was pressing. He played that 10 role. He played bare positions, and he was happy to just play his role. He was just happy to do that. I didn't rate him in terms of the amount of chances he missed, but it was a cheap loan signing, and sometimes, you know, it got the job done. I look at Anthony, I'm like, yeah, nah, far from that. Far from that. Anthony is far from that. And then it makes me wonder, well, we got Jadon Sancho rotting away in Carrington. Not even Carrington. He's probably back at home somewhere. He's rotting away. The manager has said recently that if he could go back and do things again differently, he wouldn't. He wouldn't do it differently because he fully believes in, you know, what he's done. And I just, you know, the more I talk about the Sancho thing, I just feel like there's more to the story. Like, I feel like there's more to the story that we're not privy to know, obviously. Because would you, if this was you, like, would you hold out that long to not apologize?
What if I was in Sancho's position?
Yeah, if you're in Sancho's position.
This is madness. I'm not even speaking out. If the manager says to me if in public, he just says at the end of the day, you haven't been to the standards. What was it word for word? All he said was that you're not to the standards of Manchester United. Your training.
It wasn't training. Yeah, his training standards were poor, basically.
Yeah, and that it wasn't to the standard of playing for Manchester. That's an issue. I'm taking that personally, and I'm smoking training. It was a 2-week break after that. I'm going ham in training for the next 2 weeks to show him that I'm ready to play for this club. That's all I'm doing. He went out and put out a message saying, no, in fact, my training has been great all this week. Don't believe everything you've heard. My training's been fantastic this week. Quote me if I'm wrong, but it's around those words. He basically said, I've been good in this. How can you as a player?
He said he was working hard. But that's it. He's working. He genuinely believes he's working hard. And for me, is the interesting part. I went back to read the statement the other day, yeah, and it said something about how when he said he's being scapegoated. And it's unfair. And then it made me think, we seen that video of United training. Remember the open training session last week?
Yeah.
How poor must have Sancho been training if that is the standard of training sessions? If that's the standard of, I don't care. People are going to say to me, oh, it was a, you know, open door training session. You know, they're just messing. I don't care. If the media is there watching your training session, yeah, especially when the media is already ripping into you guys, the least you can do is put on a little show.
Exactly.
You could put on a little show, but they didn't even try to do that. They couldn't keep up one pass. So for me, it's like, how bad was Sancho training if that is the standard of what we see?
Shocking. He must have been shocking. And even in pre-season, he wasn't playing in his main position. He was playing up front.
The manager was playing him though. The manager was playing him as a false nine. I don't know if the manager was anticipating that he might not have got a striker that summer. I don't know if it was in anticipation of that. I don't know if it was anticipation of a alternate kind of formation, but I don't know. The whole Sancho thing for me is like, we obviously see reports about INEOS coming in and the fact that, you know, he is one of the people very high on the list that they're going to get rid of. But I honestly look at the way all these right wingers are playing, and I'm like, Sancho couldn't be worse than that. He couldn't possibly be worse than that.
Yeah, I agree, but it's principle. Right now, we're in the business of principle. If you want to run the club properly, you have to stick to your guns. What is the player doing? What is the player doing? Really and truly, he's made the whole football club and everything about him. He had that to a degree last season. And don't get me wrong, this, you know, Sancho for me, you know, in terms of the last 2 years, he's kind of holding the beat. He's a bit of the beacon for mental health and men's mental health, and that's a very serious topic. But, you know, last season, we done the special measures. You know, Ten Hag backed you publicly and was loyal to you publicly, kept you, you know, let you go and train, get better in your own space, in your own time. This season, he still thinks you're not training good enough. That's an issue for me. That's a big issue.
I think if the manager was backing him last year and it's not working out still, you don't just throw him to the wolves. I don't agree with that. You don't just throw him.
He's not throwing him to the wolves. He's not throwing him to the wolves. The journalist asked him the question and he answered it honestly.
But do you think this is all just kind of hypotheticals, yeah, but you think he would have done the same had it been a Rashford, had it been a Højlund, had it been one of his own signings, an Anthony?
Wow, that's spoken out publicly, you know, because that's what we're asked. That's what we're basically saying, that all footballers for Manchester United Football Club are capable of speaking out publicly against the manager as and when they want to. Just sounds
No,
crazy to
I'm
me.
saying with the manager. I'm saying would the manager have said that if it was Anthony that
I
wasn't in a
think so.
matchday squad?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
think
I
he would
think.
have been like, "Oh, he's not been performing well in training, so he's not in the matchday squad"?
Yes, yes. I do. I do think that's a thing. I think if the manager's looking at a player and thinks that they're not playing to the standard, he will happily call them out. You know, especially if a journalist asks them, he will mention them and say, "Look, this player's not been playing good enough. That's why 350k a week is on the bench or not here selected." But and he's entitled to do that, and that player then has to go and work on themselves and get on the starting lineup. Like I was saying before, he was playing in the false nine, not because for me as a player, you gotta be playing in such a way where the manager only sees you as your best position. He only sees you as a left winger in pre-season, on holiday, in when he's sleeping, he sees you as the left winger and he plays you there as a left winger for the club. So the fact that he's put you in false nine already is poor signs. I can remember when I was saying from ages ago we should have sold him ages ago. I was saying it from last season. I
I
feel
was confused when we brought him. It was the most, for me, it was the most unusual signing, just because I don't think he was the answer to what we needed. But also, he was one of them players, young English kid doing well in Germany at the time.
yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the only reason why the club brought him. Honestly, I feel like that's the only good, because they thought they'd have this new face of the team, Sancho and Rashford together, kind of thing.
I was very excited, but it's just he's not got that temperament and the mental kind of focus required to play at this level. Pep showed us that. Pep definitely showed us that. He hasn't got that maturity yet where you have to give everything, and sacrifice everything. And he hasn't got that yet. That's what it is. And hopefully he gets at another club. But he won't get it here, especially in this time that we're in. We could have got a Matoma. We could have got, so many other types of players that are going to show the dedication required and the application and the results. It's just not making sense, Sancho.
Nah, I hear it. I hear it. I hear it. In terms of, we talk about tomorrow. Let's talk about tomorrow's game. Obviously, it's not just tomorrow's game. We've got actually quite a few run-off games. We got
Yeah.
Villa. We got Nottingham Forest. It's like in the space of a
6
week.
days. Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got three games tomorrow. West Ham, London Stadium, 12:30 kickoff. I was saying this on my stream earlier that I hate 12:30 kickoffs on a Saturday. Not because it's too early. None of that. I just feel like if your team loses a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday, your entire weekend is ruined. Saturday, Sunday, ruined. I can't enjoy my weekend anymore. And especially with United, it's like everyone will be waiting to see United play bad tomorrow. Especially because I feel like we've been so inconsistent throughout the season. I was saying that I feel like I don't even have we even had a run of like three games in a row that we've won. Not even, I can't even. I don't think we have. You look at West Ham, scored more goals than us. They're only 1 point behind us, firstly, in the table. They've scored more goals than us. They've conceded more goals than us, but they've got a negative goal difference. But they've scored more. I think 11 more goals than us this season. We've scored 18 goals, which is like I think it's like the lowest 6 out of everyone in the league.
Yeah, we can't score goals to save our lives. We had the same issue last season, and Ten Hag really has got an issue with the front line in terms of having a bags. He needs a bagsman. He needs somebody that's just going to be the focal point and take charge in the forward line. But West Ham are a good team. Bowen up front now is looking like a proper player up front. And an unorthodox forward. Just the way he makes his runs and stuff. I think he's got like 10, 11 goals right now in the league. So he's on fire right now. And then you got Kudus as well. They got a good team, but
They do.
For me, it's just about how Ten Hag sets up. Is he going to replicate the kind of style that we had against Liverpool, or is he going to try and play his normal style of football? And if that's the case, you're playing maybe into David Moyes' hands. He likes the counter-attacking style. So it's going to be interest. It's going to be a bit of a basketball match, early, midday tomorrow. So but I'm excited to see what type of Man United turn up in terms of the level that we bring. Can we score goals? And can we kind of get Ten Hag needs to get closer to this balanced midfield, whatever it looks like. I don't know what it's going to look like, the combination, but he needs to get closer to that. So,
do you feel like the inability to score goals lands on the manager?
Yeah, scarily enough, yeah, because you know the section of the players. I always feel like Ten Hag sets us up to win football matches. You know, we create chances because of the style that he likes to play against. You know, some of the bigger teams. It's just that we can't implement this style, this kind of suffocating turnover style, for not
Mm.
for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We don't have the players with the IQ, you know, with the intelligence to interpret the spaces, all these kind of things. So you know, it is on him. It is on him. When we get to the final third, is he creating, you know, passing avenues? Is he, like, he wants to play in the half spaces on each side? That's why he's playing the 2-10s. But the cutbacks, nobody's prepared for the cutbacks. Or, you know, he's working systems for a type of ending, but nobody's there to make the finish. Nobody's looking for Hoyland for that type, you know, for the cutback finish. No one's looking for, you know, the player at the back post or whatever it is. So we have an issue in that forward line. And he has to figure it out. I don't know how he's going to do it, man.
But it's like it reminds me of when he dropped. So he started Martial for the Everton game, then dropped him next game. Bear in mind he got a goal. I think he got the penalty as well, if I remember correctly. But I know for a fact he got a goal firstly. And for me, it's like, when do you see Rashford coming back in? Do you see him coming back into the starting team? Because I said I think Rashford should play tomorrow. I think Rashford should play. And if the manager continues to bench him, maybe there's something there in terms of them two are clashing.
Well, I think Rashford, you know, long term, he's got a season or two left, you know, and then his time might be up. But in terms of what we need him to find that purple patch form. So you as best as possible, as much as possible, you want to keep playing him into form. You know, Bruno gives him the penalty against Everton and he smashes it, and you're thinking, all right, cool, you're on form now, you're on game. Let's see how you perform next game. It's the exact same, just the pressure and Rashford. I don't think you can risk that. I don't think you can risk this head down, really sad, doesn't want to be here, doesn't care about football Rashford right now. You got to give young, hungry Garnacho the opportunity. He's trying more bicycle kicks in games. You know, let him play. You know, so I think, you know, you got to go with Garnacho. If you're playing Rashford anyway, he's the second choice striker for the club. You know, just let him do the running up front and let him do the pressing up front and let him try and get on to chances in behind the striker. I think he makes, you know, he understands, you know, the space in between the goalkeeper and the last centre back a bit better than Hoyland. So he maybe makes final man runs better than Hoyland and can score or get onto the end of his teammates' chances a bit more. So play him up front, let Garnacho stay on the left.
Let's talk about Onana, innit? Because he does some stuff sometimes that I find a bit sus. For me, I think in the last couple games, what I have struggled to come to terms with is, and I don't know if it's a tactic thing. I don't know if it's instructions from the manager, but going long always to Garnacho. It seems like he's always the player to go long to. Garnacho ain't that tall. He ain't that big. He ain't that huge. He's getting out jumped in every possible way, and it's just dispossession. And I feel like, do you think at what the question is like, it's about Onana and in terms of the ability of United playing out from the back? Because I ain't seen it much. I've not seen it much, and I'm not gonna lie. Against Liverpool, he looked calmer on the ball. You know, saw him doing a few tricks and skills, and fake clearances to kind of send a man. But long term, do you see him improving the team, or do you see him being the kind of players where if the team's playing well, he'll play well, and if the team's playing bad, he won't play bad. He'll play bad.
Well, it's early to kind of call what Anana is, because I still potentially he could be our Bravo. You know, Pep. One of the first decisions Pep makes when he comes into City is gets rid of the goalkeeper. You know, he needs 11 footballers that can attack. You know, and Joe Hart can't attack in a certain way that, you know, the players from his schooling can. So the first decision he makes is he gets an offensive goalkeeper. It doesn't work out, and then, you know, they go on to get who they've got now, but you know, he had to start as he meant to go on. So I think Ten Hag's made a good decision in bringing this type of goalkeeper in, or this profile. It was the right decision. If you want build up, this is the guy for that. But you know, the other players around him is important. You know, you're trying to create a numerical superiority in your half. So you count on everybody that's in your half to be able to produce this type of football. You know, at times some of the players are not suited for that. I don't think Evans, you know, in the modern game is suited for it. Varane to a degree, isn't really suited for it, especially at the top level. You know, at the highest level, I don't think he can play that kind of build-up style football and passing and moving, and in Ten Hag's rotation style as well. Yes, he's suitable for it for now, and accompanied by Martinez last season was fantastic, and there was a good structure and base, and I think Ten Hag was able to progress Wan-Bissaka. You know, Wan-Bissaka kind of showed a bit of ability and came through, and obviously Delos slightly suited to it, and of course Luke Shaw, but you know, all of these players, there's 2 or 3 players in world football that are way better, or a world class level at doing this build up style of football, and that's what Ten Hag's got to be able to get around Onana. You know, he's very good at it, but the other players around him, for me, have just not that level. Scott McTominay, you know, Ten Hag's almost forced him out of that picture and played him in the other half of the pitch because he can't get involved in this kind of situation on the half turn or be able to play the high risk passes. It's Kobe that has that job now. So, you know, and also games as well. It takes a amount of games for a group of players to be able to be amongst each other and play these type of high risk pass to be able to do it. You know, unfortunately, Onana's biggest issue is actually his principles in saving the football and defending the goal, you know, with his hands. You know, that's his biggest issue, is concentration levels, which, you know, is gonna keep hindering him.
I can't believe you just said his biggest problem is concentrated. Let me just fix my camera. You said his biggest problem is concentrated and basically saving goals. Bro, that's what a goalkeeper is meant to do. How can that be your biggest problem? And that's what a goalkeeper is meant to do. Your goalkeeper is meant to save shots. How can that be your biggest problem? It's like saying I'm a striker, but my biggest problem is scoring goals.
But it depends. Well, see, for me, and it's interesting when people say that. For me, it depends who you ask. You know, a lot of people say, the main thing he's meant to do is save shots. And I understand, I really do understand. But if you ask somebody else, they might want goalkeeper to be focused just on the offensive phases of play. And in their philosophy and the way they play, those offensive attributes are even more important or just as important. So even though you can say, yeah, that's what he's meant to do, well, he's also meant to be able to play from the back, and also meant to break lines from his defensive line, and also meant to be able to come and sweep areas. For other people, these are just as paramount. And for Ten Hag, I think that's why he's brought in this type of goalkeeper. It's just weird that he's doing the defensive kind of basics that he's meant to do really wrong, you know. And technically, there's a flaw there. He needs to improve it. And, you know, I think the whole world has let him know that, and I'm glad that he's aware of it now, because, you know, this club is so big. So, you know, it's a thing where he will be aware, he will be made of aware, and I think he's going to improve on it.
Nah, I disagree, man. I disagree with you. I think a goalkeeper's first job is to save. Is to save the ball. You can't say that you have to be able to pass and be part of the offensive build-up and then save. Because that just means you might play one good. Onana plays a good pass all the time. There was a chance, but there was a pass that he played against Liverpool. I think he could have had an assist, and we've seen it quite a few times this season. But that doesn't mean just because of that I'm gonna overlook your inability to save the ball. It's like it's like Wan-Bissaka, for example. Wan-Bissaka, he defends. If he was a fullback that could only get forward and was only good getting forward, I wouldn't look at that and be like, well, okay, I'll overlook your inability to defend, because you're a defender. I want you to defend. But maybe I'm with the more traditional aspect of football, where goalkeepers are meant to be. And to be honest, bar being this part of this offensive build-up, I don't know what else Onana does good, because when he comes out for crosses, he scares the hell out of me, because if it's a corner or a cross, I'm scared that he's either gonna A, punch someone in the face, or B, miss the ball completely. It's normally one or the other. I'm never reassured that he's gonna catch the ball. And it's so the EAFC, the game is so realistic, yeah. Onana does not catch the ball. If you lot have seen me on career mode, and I'm always complaining about Onana, in the game, he does not catch the ball. He just parries it away every single time. Every single time. And I feel like as a goalkeeper, the basic fundamentals, we talk about the fundamentals of football. The fundamentals of a goalkeeper is to save the ball. I don't want to see you picking the ball out of your net 5 times a game, but it's okay because you're playing 10 good passes. I don't want to see that. And of course, you know, I think we've got different opinions in terms of what build-up football is like from the back. I wouldn't mind having I guess if United had a DM that could pick up the ball from the back line or from the keeper, etc. If you had a goalkeeper that just purely can save, it wouldn't look too bad. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But again, Ten Hag's philosophy is, all players must be able to attack, all players must be able to defend. And then for me, a fundamental for me in terms of football is you can defend with the football. The best way of defending is with the football. So everybody has to be good with the football. If you can keep the football, you're defending. They're not thinking about your goal. So, if all players follow into that philosophy, that's why you get players like Dani Alves, for example, at Barcelona. He wasn't brilliant at defending. He was good, but his offensive abilities were
He was a
clearly
good
more.
defender. Daniel
Yeah,
Alves was good.
but similar to Onana, what I'm trying to say is, even though
I
he's in
don't
that
think that
defense,
he wouldn't be the player that he was or had the career that he was if he was similar to Onana. He's won everything in world football, everything.
no. What I'm trying to say, the similarity between them is and even though they're in a defensive part of the game and the pitch, their offensive mindset is what gets them, into a very world-class position in their position, because they're
Let me
more
ask.
offensive
Okay,
than defensive.
let me ask you a question then. Say we got Onana, who's this amazing offensive goalkeeper. Yeah, he's a good offensive goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And you have Trent, who's great offensively, has his flaws defensively, but he's amazing offensively. Out of the two of them, what do you think would be more important to United right now? Having a defender that is so good on the ball and creates chances, or having a keeper that can play out good from the back and is essentially an 11th man?
And considering how Ten Hag plays, I think he's already got Delo, who's trying to replicate, adding him. He's trying. That's what he's trying
Come
to
on,
do.
bro. Don't say Dallo he's trying to replicate with what Trent does. Don't
He
say
is.
that.
He
Don't say
is.
that.
He
Don't,
comes
please
into
don't.
the. He comes into the defensive line. I'm not saying he's like Trent. I'm not saying
You're
he's
saying he's
better
trying to
than Trent.
replicate it, but I don't think he's trying to replicate it because I think Trent is one of one. I genuinely think Trent is one of one.
His abilities, what you're seeing with your eyes, yes, but his position and how he behaves is not one of one. Cancelo has behaved in this manner before. Coming inside, adding himself into that right defensive midfield or left defensive midfield position, it would have been for him. Adding himself, crosses into the box, scoring, assisting. This behavior is part of the modern game. Zinchenko behaves in that way, coming in left defensive mid, assistant. Trent does it in a spectacular fashion and scores lots of goals. I'm not saying Delo's any of that in any stretch of the imagination. The way he's implemented into Manchester United, we have a player that can do those elements in pockets, and at times he's nowhere near the bracket level, but then you see the goal against Sheffield United, in dire moments, wrapping it into the top bins. For a goalkeeper, though, this is gold dust. This type of ability that
But I'm saying, would you take Trent or would you stick with having Onana?
stick with Onana. Stick with Onana.
What? When I say that Trent is one of one, I mean his technical ability. I'm not talking about what he does. I'm not talking about the way that he plays and the position that he plays in. I'm talking about his technical ability is one of one. To me he's a right back, but he's not a right back in my opinion. I don't think I wouldn't be surprised England Euros if he comes on as a midfielder or something, like if he's an extra man.
He's
I
Dani
just think
Alves. He's got Dani Alves genes. He's got Dani Alves.
he's not like Dani Alves. I mean, his technical ability is out of this world. I think his technical ability is out of this world, and I feel like if he's in a team that is defensively solid, I feel like Liverpool have had their flaws this season. So if it was a defensively solid team, I think people would overlook what he does defensively because of the fact that they're so good defensively. They can defend with three in the back, and have one less basically defender. Just the whole thing of like Andre Onana. Maybe it's me questioning more so Manchester United and recruiting him because we brought him for what 40, I think it was 47 million pounds, which was 60 million
40,
euros.
50, yeah.
He was available on a free the year before that, so United knew that David De Gea's contract was expiring. I think that maybe they didn't know whether he was going to extend or they were going to extend or whatever, but it's just another signing of the manager that I think, is this the right time for him? Maybe had Ten Hag been more ahead in his project and the final missing piece was this goalkeeper, I would have been like, yeah, okay, cool. But there's only so much I can watch mistakes from the goalkeeper. And I feel like mistakes as a goalkeeper is more damning and it has more impact because a mistake from the goalkeeper leads to a goal.
Yeah,
Whereas a mistake from the striker, you miss a shot, it's 0-0. You can still walk away from the game with a point. Whereas you put the ball, you're picking the ball out of the back of your net, it's a big problem. And I feel like looking at how the summer transfer windows have panned out for United, maybe a goalkeeper could have been the last thing they got, because really and truly, we ain't really reaped the benefits of him. Do you think we've reaped the benefits of him?
No injuries. If Martinez is in that system, you reap the benefits of Onana. If Luke Shaw was fit throughout the whole of the season, you reap the benefits of Onana. If Varane was fit and can play 80% of the games, you reap the benefits of Onana in your team and in your system. Delo, Wan-Bissaka. If you're able to play Kobe from the start of the season, I think you reap the benefits of having Onana in your team. And we've seen, how he's been able to benefit us in games this season. I have to keep going back to that Arsenal fixture. You could see that the way that Manchester United were playing forced Arsenal into the mid-block. We just don't have the quality of players to get beyond the mid-block, to get beyond the low block against decent teams this season. It's a clear issue of quality of player within our squad. Just a couple seasons ago, we were told it's open heart surgery that's required. Mourinho's been telling us football heritage. So, for us to be, if we understand these things, we could have never expected this season to lift the Champions League trophy or to lift the Premier League trophy. It was going to be a process. It was going to be, and the process was for us as well, especially when you employ Ten Hag, it's changing our whole style of how we play football. Like, that's the mission. That is not something that you want. It's almost like we're looking at performances first, then results, because you've got to get these players to change how they perform to fit this new style and the new demands. Ten Hag's already been telling us that just the demands of this league from last season to next season, the running, people are going to have to adapt to the running. You're seeing it in all the results. It's very, very close. It's very, very tight, that top 5 or 6.
Are you worried though? Are you worried about tomorrow's game, given United's record away from home against the top 9 team? West Ham fall in that top 9 team because they're 9th, and I think we've drawn to Spurs and Liverpool. That's it. Everyone else we've lost to. Are you worried not only about that, but if Ten Hag will be able to turn the season around?
Oh, he's definitely going to be able to turn it around. I think, he's aiming for maybe 4th or 5th this season, and I think he will achieve that. I think 5th gets you still into the Champions League, hopefully.
But I don't think it gets you into the Champions League. This whole coefficient nonsense.
It's not a thing.
Yeah, it might be. I think they said it might be Italy. Italy might get the 5th spot.
Okay, well, we're aiming for top 4, and that's always going to be our goal right now. And I think he will achieve that. The season's not finished.
How does he turn it around? Because just for some thought, Lindelof's out injured.
Yeah.
Had surgery today. Manager said that Martinez won't be back anytime soon, or Casemiro probably in the new year, in January, mid-January. Obviously, Andre Onana's good. The good thing is United's only got 2 games in January, and Andre Onana's going to AFCON. Van der Beek today has been announced as a new Frankfurt player. Sorry. So how do you think the manager turns it around, given the fact that there's just injuries? The
sign in January, we have to be very, very sharp and very abrupt. Like, we need to get a couple players in within the first week. 2 new players need to come in. I'm hearing that we won't have the budget to get all certain types of players in, but it needs to be 2 players coming in, whether it's loans and then loan to buy. And then he has to change the style of his football. He has to humble, because we just know the quality of the squad, that the players, the dynamic running, they're not able to do it. So he needs to play more of this conservative football, that he played against Liverpool, against some of these teams.
Are you okay with that kind of football? Like, would you? And this is also a question to the chat as well. Would you guys be okay with that kind of performance against Liverpool? Just being more clinical in goal. I mean, that Højlund chance, that should have been a goal. I think might sound crazy me saying this, but put Marcel, that's going in. If that was Marcel with that chance in front of goal, that's going in.
Yeah, I mean, that's been an issue. Clinicalness has been an issue for us, even in the big games this season. Playing how Ten Hag wants us to play, he creates opportunities, Milan. Every single game, in the big games that we have played, we've created opportunities and early spells in the game where we're thinking, okay, we can beat these if we keep this momentum. But we don't ever get anything to show for it. Our temperament, when we get adversity, we suffer, and we keep our heads go down and we start conceding. He has to be able to play this conservative football. He has to turn like Atletico Madrid for a month and wait for a few players to come back and still have and maybe he can work on his offensive principles more that way, because there'll be so much space beyond the opposition in behind them, because we're always playing conservative football. He can maybe build some passing patterns between players. It might benefit us, but it's just not looking good in terms of how we're playing in general, in terms of that midfield and that forward line. When we play Ten Hag's football, it's not looking good.
So okay, this is my question to you and anyone, because me, I'm on the fence about the manager, and I'm not here or there basically. When it comes to Ten Hag in and out, I'm not here or there. I'm very much don't really care anymore. Yeah, I'm very much like I don't really care anymore. But if you're saying that the manager, the way that United play when they implement the manager's philosophy and the manager's style of play is not working, isn't that what they signed him for, to make it work?
Yeah. So they signed. I feel like we signed him, or in our mind, we thought we was getting the 4-3-3 kind of Ajax style exactly how it is, and then he kind of throws a curveball at us and says it's going to be turnovers, transitions, and build up, and then now he's using ball regains. When he's talking about conservative football against Liverpool, which I really hope he goes on to continue to use until we get good enough to go toe to toe against Liverpool and the top six. I hope he continues to play conservative, because we can get results. But he's kind of shown us a completely different style of football than what we thought we was going to get. So he's figuring that there's a process within that. The players haven't played 1-6 on his own by himself, having to squeeze all the space to get a turnover. It's very, very peculiar how he's implementing the team. But he needs I still want to give him the opportunity to get 30 of his players in with the IQ level and the ability to then try and do it. Whether a structure needs to come in to get him players that they know, okay, yeah, this player is suited for the Premier League. It's not a Dutch player that's coming through and needs time to adapt. He can do what you want him to do at this level. Maybe he needs that structure to come in and to be able to implement that. Or it's a thing where we trust him to continue to try and bring in the said talent, which he hasn't worked out thus far. But I think what he's trying to implement on the pitch for us against opposition, Mina, has been good. And it can work if he's able to show us that he can do it for longer than 20, 30-minute spells. But I still want to blame the players as to why he can't do it for as long as he's been.
You think it's on the players rather than on the manager?
100% right now. There is an element, well, not 100% then, let's say 60, 70%. Because there is an element at the end of the day, his in-game management is his fault as well. The way he deals with situations or adversity in-game is poor. He's not he stays with his system or the way that he wants to dominate the opposition into infinity, even though it's not working. So he has issues there that he needs to do as he gets better and accustomed to the league and respects the league. Because I think he's not shown enough respect to the league if you're playing the 1-6. I agree with people that say that. Everybody, right now in the league is playing with 4 players in the midfield area, a box midfield to a degree, and you still want to push with a 1-6. So maybe you need to upregulate the quality of the midfielders that can handle that kind of situation.
Do you think any player, like, you could put the best DM in that position in the Premier League? And especially with the intensity of the Premier League, I don't think one player could play by themselves there without getting overrun.
Yeah, I agree with you, and maybe he doesn't want one player there. Like that's also because he talks so in so many presses he talks about positional play and players understanding where to be. Maybe players are not just occupying the right spaces in the right times when they need to come inside. Maybe a fullback needs to come inside and support the single 6 on the transition, or a defensive mid or one of the 2 10s don't have the temperament enough to just hold their run and relax and wait for the moment to run into the box. So then we get caught on the transition. That takes 5 or 6, 7 games of the same players understanding where to be, when to be, and where to and how to be. And these little things, these 1%, they're not falling in our favor because we're always getting injuries. So it just takes time, but we'll see what happens. I think you're right, though. You don't respect the league if you're only playing 1-6. You need 4. Right now, every single team is dominating that or packing that middle of the pitch with 4 footballers, whether it's a winger coming inside or a fullback coming inside. There's going to be 4 players there. So he needs to change that.
Big up to Aminor with the super chat. The picture is killing me. Aminor's profile picture is you. Says Eric Ten Hag needs to identify his best players, e.g. Varane. Obviously, Varane is likely that They're saying he could be an option to be leaving. Just on the last topic before we kind of wrap it up, because guys, I'm a disgrace. I have a family wedding to go to, and I'm sitting here streaming, and my family are talking about in the group chat saying, "Lol, Mina is live on stream when she's still not ready for the wedding." The things that we do for content, the things that we do for content. But let's just quickly wrap it up. Obviously, Manchester United are looking at a possibility of terminating Jadon Sancho's contract as a last resort. Obviously, if they can't sell him, it's reported that his preference is to go to a competitive European team. He doesn't want to go Saudi. Right now, it's only really Saudi that could probably afford him. And on top of that, Saudi are not even probably looking to buy anyone because, you know, if you don't know, in Saudi, I think the teams have a cap in terms of the number of international players they can sign. And most of the big clubs that are owned by the state have already reached that cap. You know, the ones that signed Neymar, Mitrovic, Ronaldo, all of that kind of stuff. Do you think that, you know, without the possibility of basically, do you think that terminating his contract is the only route that the club kind of have the option to go down?
Nah, you can sell him for 5 million, for 10 million, for 15 million, for 20 million, for 25 million, for 30 million,
You'd
35
sell him for
million.
5 million.
Yeah. Sell him on for 5 million. It's just, why not? Last season, I was saying 45 million, and that was a fantastic price. For someone that's heavily undervalued themselves. Even last season, not double figures goal contributions. That's goals and assists. Not double figures for the last 2 seasons while he's been at our club. Sell him for 4 million. He shouldn't be at the club. It is what it is. So.
Damn, that's harsh. 5 million is kind of harsh given the price tag. But obviously, I think his wages would be the problem. Would you rather they sell him than terminate his contract?
Yes, yeah. We need to get some of the feedback. We need to get some of the feedback.
Come on, bro. 5 million out of the 80 million or 70 million, however much we spent him, you'd be happy with that. You're better off getting nothing.
Nope. Something is always better than nothing, man. Please remember that.
In that instance, I don't know. I don't agree with that.
I'm being deadly serious. You can get something back for that, and yes, you're going to end up having to spend it on, another club only accepting to pay half of his wages or a quarter of it. So you're going to have to end up forking out that money that you just. But it's money that's going to help the club. The club right now is in FFP, can't even buy players. The Ed Woodwardness and the John Murtough madness is the reason why we're in this situation with these two, with these players on astronomical wages and no trophies to show for it. And this is another player that's, quite frankly, doing the diva business, just messing around. And we need players that are hungry and want to fight for this club. Sell him for 3 million. It's just a joke.
Damn, that's reckless. But that's harsh. I hear it. A lot of you lot in the chat seem to be concerned about me going to the wedding. Imran says you'll miss the food. I'm just going to show my face. I'm just going to show my face and get in family pictures and prove that I turned up. That's it. That's the only reason why I'm going. If I get there for the food, I get there for the food. Tomorrow, West Ham. What do you think the score is going to be? I'll tell you what. I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a draw, a 1-1, maybe a 2-2.
2-1, 2-1 or 2-1 or 3-2 United. We'll win the game by 1 goal. It's going to be a difficult game though, and it's going to be an open game. If he plays how Ten Hag usually plays, open game. If he plays conservative football, maybe a boring 1-0, boring 2-1.
Away from home, you think we're going to get a result against the top 9?
Yes, we will. This will be the first one.
Where's the goals coming from?
If Rashi plays, then Rashi. I don't want Rashi to play. I want Garnacho to play. So Garnacho will score. And of course, the captain, Bruno Fernandes, when you need him most. Where else do goals come from? Against Burnley when we needed it most. Against Fulham when we needed it most. It's going to turn up. Captain.
Show says prediction West Ham 3-1.
Wow.
Sidoff says defeat tomorrow.
Wow.
Clay says 2-1 or 1-2. Either way, United or someone's going to lose. Hoyland to score tomorrow. I've been saying that the past 10 games, bro. I've been saying that every stream before a game. I'm like, I hope tomorrow's the day that Hoyland scores. Then I come back after the game and I'm like, Hoyland didn't score. So I'm just going to stop saying it. Maybe if I stop saying it, he might score. I would just like him to maybe end the year with a goal. Like, for so long we kind of criticized about Richarlison and all them guys that just never hit the ground running. Now look at us. But the good thing I think that works in in Højlund's favor is that he's young. He's only 20 years old. He's gonna learn. He's gonna grow. He's gonna get better. United kind of took a risk buying him, so it's kind of that risk has to pay off. But big up to Marcel for coming through, man. You guys know what it is. Friday night for vibes. I'm off to go get ready for this wedding and drag myself there. You guys know what it is. Tomorrow we'll be back. Oh shit, my cousin is calling me. Guys, I gotta wrap this stream up, man. Big up to Marcel, big up to everyone that's locked in. You lot already know. I'll be back tomorrow night with a stream, obviously, wait after the Liverpool and Arsenal and United game. So I will see you lot then. Marcel, my brother, always a pleasure. You're always welcome here. Big up, guys. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. You don't know what it is. I hope you have a great Friday night. Peace.